A very warm welcome to today's Learning Lab. For those of you joining a BILT event for the first time, BILT stands for Bridging Innovation and Learning in TVET. The BILT project is implemented by UNESCO-UNEVOC in Bonn, together with the German Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, known as BIBB, and is sponsored by the German Federal Ministry for Education and Research. My name is Michael Schwarz. I'm the team leader of the BILT project here at BIBB. The topic to be presented and discussed today is coming from Africa. It is called Young Africa, Embracing Equal Opportunities for Women in TVET, both online and offline. This initiative closely aligns with one of the key BILT themes, which is how new qualifications and competencies for women in TVET are provided and how self-employment is fostered. Before we start, I would like to outline some housekeeping rules on the next slide. Today's webinar is in both English and French, and you should click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen and select your language of choice. If anyone cannot see this icon or is unable to access the interpretation, please put a message in the chat and someone on our team will try to help you. Please also note that this learning lab will be recorded today. There will be a question and answer session during the webinar, and if you wish to ask a question, please do so in the Q&A feature. Our moderator, Jessica Rosenfeld, will ensure your questions are posed to the panel members. Because we will not take live questions, please only use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. You are also able to upvote questions by liking questions that have been addressed by other participants. Please go to the next slide. Today's webinar will run for roughly 90 minutes and it is split in 3 sections. First, we will have an elevator pitch by Young Africa International. This presentation will be followed by a panel discussion looking at the tailor-made model of Young Africa and discussing how Young Africa International is working to provide unique opportunities that support women in TVET. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to present your work to us today. This section will be followed by a Q&A session. During the presentation and the panel discussion, please do post your questions in the Q&A feature of Zoom so that we can raise it to the panelists. Before we start, I would like to say a few words about today's objectives. Therefore, please go to the next slide. The BILT Learning Labs are designed to present and discuss an innovative practice which addresses a common challenge in TVET in Europe, Africa, or the Asia-Pacific regions. And for today, on International Women's Day, we can't have chosen a more current issue, namely how the Young Africa Federation, an alliance of independently owned and operated NGOs in Africa, is supporting young women in TVET. I'm excited to learn how Young Africa is contributing to create equal opportunities for women in TVET, what is done on the ground, in which countries, what is done online, who are the beneficiaries, and what makes this approach a success story. With this, I would like to pass the floor to our moderator, my colleague Jessica, who will take you through today's Learning Lab. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, Aldrich, next slide, please. I cannot see the slides. I'm hoping slide 5 is on the screen because I currently cannot see. So I will, next slide then, I see the slides now. Great, okay. So as my colleague Michael mentioned, we have chosen today to hold our first Learning Lab of the year on this day, the 8th of March, in honor of International Women's Day. IWD has a long history dating back over 100 years, and its foundations are firmly planted in the rise of industrialization, workers' rights, and social equality. This thread carries on through today in the 2023 slogan, #EmbraceEquity. The United Nations first commemorated IWD in 1975, and 2 years later, the General Assembly adopted a resolution to formally recognize the day. Beginning in 1996, the UN chose to focus on a specific topic yearly. This year, it is shining a light on the gender discrepancies related to STEM and ICT with its theme DigAll, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Slide 6, please. Aldridge, next slide, please. Thank you. So some may ask, why, after over 100 years, is it still necessary to reserve a day to look at inequality, discrimination, and bias through the lens of gender? This is because it is still prevalent. Women account for 46% of the global workforce, yet due to a 23% gender wage gap, they earn an average of 77% less than their male counterparts. Moreover, internationally, women hold only 28% of managerial positions, an effect of the glass ceiling. When we look at TVET specifically, we can see that only 31 out of 133 countries have achieved gender parity at a national level. This means that individuals have equal opportunities regardless of their gender. However, even with national commitments in place, there still remains gender disparity for TVET enrollment. For example, 43% of students enrolled in vocational programs at an upper secondary level compared with 49% for general education programs. And globally, women make up only 35% in higher education STEM-related fields. Underlying gender-based inequalities within both our global and local economies are responsible for these discrepancies. When taking a cross-regional perspective, these gender-based inequalities are compounded in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia Pacific, where overall youth participation in TVET programs is lower for both men and women. Moreover, within these regions, training is often acquired within the informal sector, and receiving recognition becomes difficult. There are various ways that both youth and women's access to and participation in TVET can be increased. We are pleased today to have with us representatives from Young Africa and their network to talk with us about how they are tackling these issues to create a more equitable society, both offline and online. Next slide, please, Aldridge. Presenting Young Africa today, we are joined by Mr. Wellington Mo Checheteri. For the past 4 years, he has been responsible for coordinating all of Young Africa programs and projects, and is currently working as a grant coordinator at Young Africa International. For our panel discussion today, we will be joined by Mr. Colleen Mungani, the Skills to Life Program Manager at Young Africa Zimbabwe, Ms. Ini Charamba, the projects coordinator at Young Africa International, Ms. Esther Rifu, a local entrepreneur working in early childhood development and the CEO of the Angels Academy, and Ms. Yvonne Bulaka, a recent graduate of Early Childhood Development Program. A warm welcome to all of our speakers. And with that, I would like to pass the floor on to Wellington. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And morning to everyone. Happy Women's Day to every beautiful and strong woman in the house. I trust it will be really a good day for you. Can you put up my slide? Thank you. Just to quickly go through what Young Africa does and who is Young Africa. I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Wellington Checheteri. I'm the grants coordinator at Young Africa, responsible for coordinating all the programs and projects that we are implementing in Southern Africa. Yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So my presentation will basically look at what Young Africa is, the approaches that we use in skills training, and how we are also enhancing economic opportunities for women. Then we'll just conclude with remarks as indicated earlier on. You can also post your questions on the Q&A tab. So Young Africa is a federation of independent run organizations, and currently we have operations in Mozambique, Namibia, Zimbabwe, in Zambia, who actually, we are so proud to also let you know that they are being spearheaded or steered by women, strong women. Our CEO is a woman, and all the country directors in the countries that I've mentioned are women. So we are also proud as we are celebrating this day that we have women who are actually steering the ship. And our core business really is skills training for employability and entrepreneurship, targeting young vulnerable people or young people between the ages of 15 to 25. Sometimes because of the context, we go as far as 35 years. And we utilize two approaches in our training, which is at the center. So in all the countries that I've mentioned, we have training centers. Then also we have an approach whereby we reach out to underserved areas through mobile training. So at our centers, we actually implement a franchise business model whereby our centers are structured in a way that they are sort of a mini industry. So we engage a franchisee who actually come and runs the workshop, which is fully finished. Then in the mobile training sites, we work with the local business people who actually have the responsibility of providing the practical training. We can move on to the next slide. So our training program is largely 70% practical and 30% theory. And we try to integrate our training with the life skills education and entrepreneurship. So as I mentioned earlier on, in terms of our approach to training, where we use the franchises, our young people are exposed to the actual on-the-job training. So these franchises will be running their own day-to-day businesses. And these young people, as they also go for their practical lessons, they're actually exposed to the production line, implying that the practical that we offer is not necessarily the demonstration that you get, but they're actually doing the on-the-job training. And the 30% theory is more or less speaking on the theory that they are offered. Then the life skills also is the theory and the soft skills that they get. So our training courses run between 3 to 12 months. Then depending with the country, the course, some of the courses are actually accredited with the different examining bodies in the countries that we are operating. And at the end of the training course, these young people receive a college certificate. But what we have realized over the years as we are implementing is that sometimes just offering a young person with a skill is not enough. Our idea really is to ensure that they increase in their income and enhance their economic opportunities. As such, we have a post-graduation program that we are now implementing, whereby we try to ensure that at the time these young people complete their training, we try to offer them with other services to ensure that they are either linked to a job opportunity, whether in the informal or formal sector, or they actually start their own enterprises. So some of the services that we offer are as follows. You can move on to the next slide. So we have a job readiness program, which is more or less looking at coaching and mentorship, whereby prior to them actually going for internship or ensuring that we link them to a job opportunity, these young people are actually taught on a curriculum whereby, or they go through a curriculum whereby they are actually taught about how to, etiquette skills and other different things, that time management, how to be respectful at work. Then also we have what we call our incubation hubs, the youth economic booths. So these youth economic booths, we set them at the different sites that we are operating, even in the mobile training sites, whereby young people, we have ideas around coming up with innovations, products, also maybe issues to do with market linkages and value addition. they can actually access these youth economic boosts where they can actually get equipment to use from this. They can even be assisted in CV writing, applying for jobs and all. Then we have our internal savings and lending schemes. These also happen at the different sites as well as the locations where we are operating, whereby young people are organized in small groups and they are actually taught on how to save amongst themselves. And when they save, they can also lend so that they can also start their business. When they return these funds which they have received as a loan, they come with an interest with the idea of actually building savings as well. Then we have also support for income generating activities. So we are more or less targeting these young people who might have been involved in some business ideas. We have businesses that they are implementing. So they actually are supported to run their small business. It could be even petty trading or whatever the case may be, and they receive some startup capital or kits through a revolving fund, where we support them to boost their capital, their businesses. Then they can still retain that money so that we can support other young people who would want that. Then, of course, financial literacy in terms of those who are in business, to say how can they actually usefully utilize their money and budget for that. And lastly, our approach really is to work also with the private sector, whereby we engage with the local business people to ensure that these young people are actually linked in terms of job opportunities and other aspects of ensuring that they are economically active. Thank you. You can move to the next slide. So in all this that we are doing in light of the theme and celebrating International Women's Day, we have a deliberate approach to supporting young women and adolescent girls who come from highly vulnerable spaces and marginalized spaces. So we actually deliberate at enrollment to target young people who are young women who are survivors of gender-based violence, those who are actually selling sex, who are victims of early marriages and pregnancies. And in light of these intersecting vulnerabilities, we try to come up with a tailor-made program. So in as much as we have models that we have been using in terms of training young people, we also try to understand their background so that we come up with a tailor-made program which will also help them to ensure they fully participate in the training, as well as ensuring that we achieve the highest impact of some sort. So as such, we have tailor-made interventions and some levers that we have also created to foster skills for these young people. So you can move on to the next slide. In this, like I mentioned earlier on, that we have training centers in the different countries. So we have hostels within our training centers where these hostels have been actually been designed to cater for young women who come from marginalized areas. So they are accommodated at our training centers, and they undergo through the training program. Then when they complete training, they go for internship. And we give them at least a provision of about another 6 months to be staying at the hostel, while at least they are trying to fend for some opportunities that they can have in terms of employment. But in the process, we'll be assisting them. So at the hostel facilities, they really get everything that they need in terms of food and other needs that they might have. Then we have provision for daycare facilities. So our program is to ensure that we include everyone, no one is left out. So as such, we have daycare centers at our centers where those nursing mothers can actually attend fully all the the training programs that they might have at that day, but at the same time, their children actually being taken care of at our daycare centers. We also use this model for our outreach areas or mobile training sites, whereby we actually identify people who take care of the children of these mothers or young mothers who actually be participating in the training. And we are also just deliberate in ensuring that we give access to education, vocational training for young people. As such, we are deliberate in ensuring that every enrollment, we have 55% of women actually enrolling in the training programs that we are offering. And we always encourage them to take up these courses that have generally been dominated by men, such as your electrical installation, construction, and everything. So we've found over the years that in most cases, we have women actually taking up much of these courses. And it's also impressive to know that when we also offer during graduation, that most of the highest attaining or the best students will be women in that. Then also we support women in business. If you also really understand the context of Southern Africa, that women are always involved in petty trading, selling, or small things. So we have designed a 6 weeks course that we try to leverage on women or who are actually involved in small or petty trading. So we give them training in business management and development. After they receive this training, we help them with startup kits to actually boost up their businesses so that they can actually improve or actually grow their business. Then we have an adolescent girls empowerment program, as I mentioned earlier on, through our post-graduation program, where we focus on internal savings and lending schemes, which are like a group of 3 to 5 young people, that young girls or women who are actually supported to or receive skills in how they can save. Then in the process, once they are saving, we also support them with further startup kits, and they also receive coaching and mentorship through our business development officers. So the whole idea around the internal saving lending schemes is once they are doing well in their savings, then they receive a startup kit. Or once they receive the startup kit, it's only to ensure that they actually improve or grow their business. So I think in a nutshell, this is what we have been doing. But just to add on, when we were going through the COVID times, we also realized the need of moving into the digital space. So we have been piloting an online system through the support of other donors to ensure that also women and young people can actually now access training through the online digital platform that we are offering. Thank you very much.
Hi. Thank you so much, Wellington, for that very interesting look into your organization. So it's time now to move on to the panel portion. And to start our panel off today, I would like to look at how form follows function regarding Young Africa International's organizational design. As has been mentioned previously, YAI does not follow one organizational structure, but rather utilizes various models. It is simultaneously a federation, a franchise, and in the future plans to be also a TVET platform. So how does this unique conglomeration assist the organization in supporting women within various countries? And to answer this question, I would like to call to the floor Wellington again, Colleen, and Eni to share their insights.
Thank you very much, Jessica. It's more or less touching back to the previous presentation that I made to say, really, we have also realized over time that young women and just women in general are exposed to a number of vulnerabilities. And our idea really was to come up with a tailor-made program considering the different challenges that they face. So I'll give, for instance, that we have one project, the Skills to Live project, where we are working in border towns, where you find most of the beneficiaries that we are targeting are women who are selling sex. And it's mainly because of the different challenges that they are facing. But sometimes it's difficult for them to really engage in the training program because of different challenges that they will be facing. So we always try to engage with them to say, what is the best time that we can actually engage with you? Which are the flexible times that you will be there, and what courses might be viable and suitable for you. So these are some of the things and considerations that we also make as we implement. But I will just also pass on to my colleagues to also add on to that and some of the approaches that we are taking to ensure equality and equity of women.
Thank you so much, Wellington. Allow me to also add in. As Young Africa, we also make a deliberate attempt at enrollment to ensure that we enroll more adolescent girls and young women than their male counterparts. And on average, we enroll 55 to 50% women in our programs, both at our centers and in mobile training sites. We also realize that, like what Wellington said, as we train in different locations, dropout or attrition of students from training tends to affect women more than their male counterparts. You would appreciate that the burden of care in our African setting, especially Southern Africa, lies more or is heavier on the girl child than the male counterpart. And our analysis has shown us that 55% of those who drop out are women. But we've continued to brainstorm over this to find out how best we can ensure that training favors the concerns of women particularly. When I talk of the burden of care, I'm opening up to the point that in Southern Africa, the girl child is expected to take up the care duties at home when their parents are maybe doing petty trading or vending. They're supposed to be doing household chores, taking care of the young ones, and also taking care of the sick and elderly. But we have tried to ensure flexibility in our programs, especially in mobile training, in terms of the operating hours, because we would get situations where the female students would say, if it is possible, we want to knock off a bit early so that I can go back home and prepare for the next meals or take up some household chores. That flexibility has allowed female students to be able to attend training. We traditionally have been very particular about attendance to ensure that students consistently attend training. But we have really opened the window for female students, especially in mobile training sites like the border towns, where most of our beneficiaries are students living on selling sex or commercial sex workers. They brought up an important point that we considered, that as they attend training for 3 to 6 months, it means for that period, there's no income at all, there's no food on the table. So as they try to adapt to the new requirement of training, and also as we give them a second chance in life, we realize that they have to attend training and at the same time find income for their house, for their families. Our training is not meant to completely take them off the streets or off their distress coping mechanism, but want to give them another option so that they can really consider and say at the end of training, this is a more safer and legitimate life coping mechanism. So we tend to really be flexible and to ensure that they continue to attend training. Thank you.
So another question that had been posed was how where our different funding models and how we get our funding. In some instances, we apply for funding as Young Africa International. And then in some instances, we also join consortiums where we are working with other partners and like-minded organizations who would also be fighting for the same cause that we're fighting for, the empowerment of young women and girls across Africa. Then we also apply to foundations, philanthropists, private donors, and also organizations such as the World Bank, EU, all the international organizations. We sort of also answer to calls for proposals that come, which address our funding challenges. Just to add on to what Wellington and Colin said, with our online platform, the BILT online platform, we also now have a project that is being piloted here in Southern Africa, which is going to be covering Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Mozambique, which is digital BILT education, where we are hoping to reach to close to over 8,000 young persons, and a deliberate effort to work with around over 60% being young women and girls. And with that, we hope to increase the awareness on TVET to policymakers as well as influencers in Africa and even in Europe. With that, we'll be working in over 12 countries in Southern as well as Eastern Africa. I think when it comes to how is Young Africa International, we are dealing with systems, with different systems across countries and regions. We very much try to adhere to the protocols and the rules and the regulations within the countries that we'll be operating in. In a nutshell, that's what we can say. We are now working on it. We are very excited with this TVET project that we piloted, and because it stands for inclusion as well as versatility as well, looking at what it's offering to young persons and young girls who are in hard-to-reach areas through online education. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I think I'm not pinned to the screen at the moment. There we go. Hi. Thank you. That was very interesting. One note going forward, could the panelists, like Eni just did at the last, hold the mic close to her, because we were having difficulties hearing you, Colleen, a bit. So it's a large room and it's a bit hard for us to pick up the audio then. So moving away from structure and funding and how that support, I would like to dive a bit more into the mission of Young Africa. And at the heart of the organization is a student-centric approach with an entrepreneurial spirit. I would like to talk about how these core values have impacted the program and the curriculum development, and what does that actually look like from a student's perspective. I pass the floor back to the panelists.
Thank you so much. As Young Africa, we deal with youth empowerment. That's our core business. And we believe that in empowering youth, we need to involve them. We are just guided by the statement, anything for us without us is against us. So before we enroll students for any training cohort, we carry out market surveys or even shorter versions like rapid assessments to get information from different communities on what it is that the young people require, what economic spaces do they operate in, like the education levels that they've attained, their employment prospects, scanning them, the business environments within which they operate, so as to identify the gaps that are there and that affect the young people. We then offer courses that are in line with what the young people require. We offer courses that are in line with what the market can absorb, so that we really meet the young people at points of need. During the course of training, we also have an accountability and feedback mechanism that we run through our monitoring and evaluation departments. We put in place what we call a students' parliament, which is a representative body elected from different forces or departments. These students' representatives are engaged periodically by our monitoring and evaluation department to give feedback to Young Africa on the quality of training, on the concerns that the students have. This to us is a quality circle. It is a setup that we use to improve on training, a setup that we use to correct training approaches and provide quality as the training programs will be running. We feel as an organization we need to feel the pulse of the students in the training through opening a window where they really express their concerns, not only negative, but even the things that they want us to continue to uphold, so that training continues to run effectively. I think that's what I can say under the role of students.
Hello, everyone. I, as a franchise Young Africa Center, I started training ECD teachers 22 years back. I train young women so that they can start their own preschools. I train them so that they can go and work at other preschools. So we also have a daycare facility where they leave their children there for the nursing mothers. When they go for lessons, they bring their children there. We take care of the children so that they cannot struggle to do their lessons. When they finish their lesson, they come back, they feed their children, they go back for lessons. And on entrepreneurship, we train them. They've got 6 modules that they take on the entrepreneurship of the students. We train them how to start their own preschools, so that when they finish, they go and they start their own preschools. And this supports employability. They also take they also take some other students. They work for them, so they also support entrepreneurship. And we also teach them on administration and management, so that they can be able to administrate their own preschools. and also the importance of being trained, why it is important for them to be trained. Maybe they can think and go and start around why is important that they can be trained. And also the ethics, the ECD teachers. How they can, how their qualities and also their roles, what their role in ECD teacher. We also train them that pertains to entrepreneurship, and also teach them the curriculum on how to teach the children and how to control them. Concerning this entrepreneurship thing, this will guide us, this guide them to start their own preschools, because all these are necessary when they are starting their preschools. So we also train them to be self-sustainable, so that when they start their own preschools, they can be able to do some skills, teach them some skills like soap making, like making detergents, dishwasher, sorry, so that they can also sustain themselves during holidays. So that is part of entrepreneurship, so that when they can't make money during school days, they also start small businesses and using the skills we teach them. I think that's all. Thank you.
I'm here from a student, a former Young Africa student.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yvonne. Okay. Being a Young Africa, I've learned a lot about entrepreneurship skills. I was doing ECD, but during my course, I was doing other things like computers and entrepreneurship. And in entrepreneurship, I learned a lot. Like, although I'm doing ECD, it's not the only thing that I'm supposed to do to make money or to sustain myself. I learned things like what my mentor was saying. We've been taught about how to do other businesses other than the job that you're doing. Like the course that I've taken, it's only for 3 months, then the school closes. Then for a month, I will be having things that I will be doing, like soap making, but me as for my own, the things that I was doing was finding something to sell. Even when I was in hostel when I was in school. When I was in hostel, then we were talking about ISO thing. In ISO, it made me open my mind. Even though I have no other business to do, but I can do something with the 2 cents that I have. Then we talked about ISO, then we started our group. It was a group of 7. We were contributing $3 per week. But with that money, I managed to buy the things that were needed in school, to buy the things that the foodstuffs, like the foodstuffs that to eat in hostel. And also I managed to save, even when I was going for attachment. In attachment, we were not given money, but the money that I was saving during my 6 months in hostel, I managed to use it for rental, even for food, even for transport. So the entrepreneurship helped me a lot. Like now, I know other things that you soap making detergents, selling even airtime. You can buy airtime and sell the bulb, then you get something. That's entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to add on, Esther is a franchisee at Young Africa Zimbabwe, and her role there as well is to inspire young women so that they can also get into the business of either setting up their own early childhood centers, or they can also become employees. Remember, like we said, Young Africa is there to promote employment or entrepreneurship. So this is part and parcel of what happens and what Esther does in inspiring the young women that she works with. And then Yvonne here as Esther as her mentor, who has been teaching her the ropes of how to navigate life before training, during training, and after training, for as well as offering postgraduate support whenever the support is needed. So this is what, among other trades that we have at Young Africa, which are not only early childhood, we also have other courses that run, technical courses that run at Young Africa Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We seem to really be having difficulties with the sound quality, and I apologize to all participants. It's been challenging to hear our panelists. My apologies for that. What we heard as a strong message from the last one is the importance of partnering students with mentors and helping them to navigate. And looking at this theme as well, we know that the world we live in is not devoid of prejudice and discrimination. And how do you work then to prepare students for these gender-based inequalities that they may face in labor markets? I'd like to pass the floor back to the panelists.
Thank you, Jessica. Throughout our trainings, we also have studies of we've got concepts that we impart to the students, which have got tenets of gender equality. We also teach about the wage gap that is there within the industries, so that they are aware of that. We also teach them about negotiation skills, where they have to have the confidence to know that the skill that they have is worth this much. And they can also be sure and discuss about what is due to them. And then we also give them resources that also tackle the different stereotypes that are there within the working environment, where it's some of the trades that we teach mainly are also were seen as male-dominated previously. But we are encouraging our students as well to join those domains, because that's where maybe the money is as well. And in that, we also teach them to be aware that tradition is there, and we are also in the now and the here, and we have got equal opportunities, which are for girls, young women and girls, as well as for the young men that they will be working with. So that conscientization is what we give to our students. We also, in our classroom or in our setup or teaching setup, we also have, we teach about inclusivity and as well as respectfulness to each other as human beings, so that they see each other as colleagues and as workmates, and not as one who is over and above the other, even in the work environments. So when they join the workforce, they are aware of their rights, they are aware of what is due to them, they are aware of the negotiation tactics that are there for them to also work within these environments, and how to handle the conflicts that come, that arise as well with them entering these fields, because this is something that we will be chattering, that you are now a builder, you are now a motor mechanic, you are now a civil engineer who's getting into the field, which is seen as provision for males only, but you are entering it, which means it might not be a welcome, but people will get used to you and they'll start depending with how you'll be working as well. Then we have got mentors as well, and coaches that we also have within Young Africa, within the business sector, that we make our students work with, who also coach them on gender disparities that exist within the working environment. And for Esther as well, from that young age, from that tender age, where we have got students who are coming from the early childhood classes. We also talk about the gender roles and responsibilities that are also available. So these are some of the things that we talk about, and then we also the coaches and the mentors, they also guide as well as advise the young women and young girls on how to handle crisis, conflicts, the highs, the lows within the working environments, and who to approach and how to approach when we have issues that arise within the working environment. I think Wendy can also add a little bit on this as well from our panelists.
Thanks, and I think you have summed it all. Generally, I think we can move on with our discussions.
Okay, so I will then ask one last question to our panelists, and then we will move on to the Q&A part. So in our ever-changing and evolving world, TVET must also adapt. And what life and work skill requirements have you seen change at your organization over the past few years? And what things have remained the same? And also, also looking forward in light of the current STEM gender gap, how do you foresee that women can gain skills in greening and digitalization that will be necessary to help them build a more sustainable and equitable future? Thank you.
Thanks so much. I will take up part of the question and then hand over to Annie to begin. We realized from year 2020 that due to the setting in of COVID, it was no longer business as usual. We had to really change the way we operated. We were subjected to national lockdowns, requirements to suppress the spread of COVID. During those lockdowns, it was not possible for us to conduct face-to-face training to students in big groups. That's when we realized the importance of digitalization. When we started piloting online learning so that we can access students in different parts of the country when they could no longer come to Young Africa centers to access learning. We also realized that within Southern Africa, the business environment has been changing quickly, and we need to prepare our students to adapt to these changes, to adapt to the new working environments, the competitive and digital world that we are in. So through life skills training and work readiness training, we've realized a need for some specific skills that we were not really very particular about. These include issues like confidence, improving on networking, problem solving, critical thinking, and IT skills. These are some of the skill sets that we realized that they become very critical at this point. And for the female students, the moment they have such skills, then we close the gap that has always been there traditionally between the male and female students. As we drive towards empowerment of the female students, we really need to equip them with these soft and special skills so that at least they can stand the heat and make a difference within the competitive business.
Thank you, Colin. And just to add on to that, as we look into the future and as we continue programming, we like to, it has been mentioned before that we are making deliberate efforts and we are intentional in encouraging innovations that also look at greening, that focus on that, as well as an institution where we encourage recycling, where we also talk about our environment and have activities that focus on issues which have got to do with pollution, litter, tree planting, all those activities that speak to greening. And we also have we also encourage innovation within our young persons, young girls within the centers, where we also have, we ask for ideas and as well as innovations to do with the environment and solutions to what the environment is facing currently. So we do this through practicals and where we have where we encourage prototyping of products and services of what they think, how we can also respond and contribute towards greening. Then we also have boot camps as well that we have for the young persons, where we are encouraging them to be innovative and for them to show us really as young persons what the future holds or what they think the future holds for them. So with these deliberate programs, we expose them to networks where they are green, to the Green Academy, like for Namibia, where we are working with the Green Academy. And then we also have workshops. Our students attend workshops. We also have some resources that we share with them towards the greening. Then we also have, like I said, practicals of what we do is for water harvesting and just keeping our environment clean as well. I think as we look at the future and our programs as well on the sustainability notes, we involve the communities as well when we are programming, so that even when we leave a community, the same programs and the objectives of why we even started the programs, they still continue. And the communities, we would have had a buy-in within them, and they continue with some of the projects and programs that we have started within the communities. We also involve the families of the students that we work with, which means the projects and the programs, they don't die when we exit communities, but they continue even after the project's lifespan. Thank you.
Thank you all. That was very interesting to hear about specific transversal skills that you discovered were more relevant to your female students, as well as using practical-based training to help increase innovation and kind of forward-thinking approach. Well, thank you again to all our panelists and speakers. And now we will enter the Q&A section. We haven't received a lot of questions thus far from our audience, and we would be very curious to hear what are the differences that you see in your own countries between what has been talked about regarding skills demand and skills need. Are there changes that you have also seen on an individual perspective? Also, I would like to remind our speakers to please speak directly into the microphone. I know when we get passionate sometimes, we pull the microphone away, but it's a bit difficult for us to hear in the audience here. I would like to bring all of our speakers back to the stage and start with a question that we had posed by Patricia Bosco. The question was regarding training, and it says, the training appears to be short course hands-on training. And if that is so, how is it certified? Are there pathways for these girls who might want to have a future, who might want to further their training in the future? Thank you. Aldridge, could you also bring Wellington to the stage, please?
Sorry, Jessica had dropped out. he was disconnected for the time being, so I will show him when he's back.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Our training programs run for a minimum of 10 months, depending on the trade. We have 6 months college training where they will get 7% practical and 30% theory. Then after that, our students go for industrial learning or industrial attachment for 4 months. But we have other trades like motor vehicle mechanics and machine shop engineering, where attachments will run for 12 months. So it depends on the type of course. We find it very, very effective in the sense that during their 6 months training extenders, it will be hands-on practical training where they actually learn on the production system of the franchises. It's not like demonstrations or workshop dummies, but it is real production line kind of training. We also are accredited with other national and international examination bodies, and to encourage students that even after attaining the college certificate, they can still further their studies. They can register and write higher level examinations with maybe Higher Education Examinations Council in country and other international technical examinations, so that they can also be trade tested by the National Manpower Development Department, so that they can also improve their qualifications. So we give them a second chance in life, but life doesn't end there. We encourage them to further their education using that that basic level that we take them on. We usually want give a second chance to the marginalized young people, even those that would have failed to complete secondary education due to different socio-economic vulnerabilities. So we take them starting from a basic stage of education to attain the first foundation certificate, and then encourage them to train further, to enroll for other courses, so that they can also improve their qualifications, because the business environment and the labor market also becomes very demanding and requiring high-level skills. We are excited that the practical components that we expose them to is quite strong, since on a daily basis, 70% of the time, really working on production. So the level of exposure is.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question comes from Elizabeth Stoffel, and she wants to know, does Young Africa work together with other organizations in the country of South Africa specifically?
Right now, we are expanding to South Africa. So 2023 is when we are identifying partners to be working with in the youth training sector. So South Africa, we are on our way, on our expansion. We are targeting South Africa, Angola, Eswatini as the 3 countries that will be getting into in 2023. In 2023. So it would be good to get in touch with her, and then we can also link up and also see how we can work together. But we are already working through frontline aids, as well as to identify partners to be working with for one of our projects, which is the Skills to Live project. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. So Elizabeth, if you want to send us your email address and contact information, Amy can be in touch with you then. Moving on, we have another question from Saeed Mohammed, and he was curious about how do you define inclusivity and how can that be achieved in an African setting, considering different religious and cultural settings?
Sorry, can you come again? The last part I did not hear.
Certainly,
How do we define inclusivity, and then how do we ensure?
How do you foresee that being achieved in an African setting, given the different cultural and religious settings in various countries? It's a bit of a complicated question.
Okay, I'll try to answer how we've been deliberating being inclusive. We have got percentages that we have towards not only about religion, where we don't discriminate students. We are not, we don't enroll towards whether religious backgrounds. That we don't do. We just enroll students, as human beings. Then we also have got 5% provision for those that are disabled, where we are saying as much as one is not capable, is disabled, there is also space, because our centers are actually adapted to be catering for such for their needs. So if we are to just enroll and teach without putting in religion and all these other dividing aspects within society, we feel we can be able to attain whatever inclusivity in that sense. But the moment we start to categorize and to segregate and to say, maybe this is for, we are celebrating this Christian holiday, we are celebrating this Muslim, we are celebrating this Hindu holiday, then it becomes problematic. So what we do is when it comes to holidays and celebrations, we usually just commemorate the international days at these colleges, and we also encourage those that that as long as it's not harming, the do no harm approach, we also do that. So we hope and we foresee that happening, but it also takes not only willpower from the students, but also from other stakeholders, because this goes beyond the classroom setup. This goes to the communities where the students are coming from. How welcoming are the parents? How welcoming, how open to new things and to seeing diverse things that are communities towards that. So this is what we have, and some of the programs that we have as well, they are all inclusive in that sense.
Thanks so much, Amy, for this. Just want to add a bit more. We are guided by the leave no one behind position. We use it to really embrace all the young people with all their vulnerabilities. We appreciate that the young people we deal with come from different backgrounds and they have different orientations. It's important for us to note at this stage that a very significant part of our beneficiaries are those living with HIV and AIDS. We give them a special slot as a vulnerable group. We also enroll students, young people who are coming from a commercial sex work background. We have young people of different sexual orientations. We take them all and ensure that their positions and vulnerabilities are protected. Not only vulnerabilities, but their orientations and the way they are made up is also protected to avoid cases of stigma, which may end up splitting the student's body. We don't want anyone to be known for being or for living with HIV and AIDS. We don't want any students to be pointed at and labeled a commercial sex worker or of different sexual orientation. We want them to be recognized as just one student body. So yeah, it is quite a challenging environment, but we've tried hard to ensure that we operate without discrimination and have young people from different backgrounds, be they cultural, physical, or circumstantial backgrounds. We take them all and offer them training for skills and also sexual reproductive health. Thank you.
Okay. I see that we have time for one more question. So I would like to take a bit of a future perspective and ask our panelists, what do they predict as the biggest opportunities for young people in TVET within an African context?
Thank you. We feel and we see that the future is exciting for the young people in who have taken up TVET within Africa. Young Africa also offers agricultural courses, and we see that there are opportunities for growth and expansion when it comes to the agri sector within the African context. We are also seeing that when it comes to the academics, the space for the young persons to take up the space, it sort of feels like it's a bit crowded, but with technical and vocational skills that they would have acquired, the future belongs to those who are TVET trained, because you find there are so many construction in the construction sector. We see opportunities for growth. We see opportunities for growth even in the mining sector, where where we have got the metal fabricators and all the other courses that would have given to the students being made use of. We see a lot of underdevelopment in Africa, where we hope that with the skills that we would have imparted to these young persons towards construction, towards the green energy, towards mining, towards agriculture, even industrialization, we see TVET students taking part, because these are sectors that require practicals as compared to soft skills. So we believe and we feel that the future is exciting for the young persons who would have ventured into TVET. You find many people, there is also AI, which is taking over within even the African context, and also we see opportunities for our young persons, because we also offer computers and as well as virtual training. So we see all those opportunities for the young persons within the African context. So if you look at the sectors and if you look at our economies and how how we can grow and how we can contribute as young Africa, and even the space for women and young girls as well within all this, we feel excited, because when we empower the young persons with all these skills, it remains part and parcel of ourselves as young Africa and other stakeholders also to take part and also to assist the young persons with spaces now for them to exhibit, as well as to also work and use the skills that they would have acquired within their technical colleges. But otherwise, with the growth and also with the future and the forecast and the studies that are coming out right now, we see space where the young persons can, and opportunities for growth and for businesses, for them to set up businesses and for them even to be working for other investors and other people who would have come to be working and also to be developing Africa as a continent. So we predict that the future is bright for the young Africans. Maybe let me give you to a young African to speak more on that.
Okay, hello once again. I just want to add on what Miss Amy is saying. Me as and testimony of what she's saying. Looking back, think about my life, the way I've been growing, the way I've been raised. Before coming at Young Africa, it was just a nobody. Like, I did my education at A level and I did pass with 8 points, but I didn't have anything to do in life. I was just staying at home, being a housemate, because I didn't have money or anyone that would further my studies. But after I heard about Young Africa, I came to Young Africa and everything changed. Like the entrepreneurship, the life skills, and because that I was doing, it's like I was in a wall. Then everything that's open up, they teach me many things, like what we have been saying about entrepreneurship skills, life skills, like journey towards my improved life. Although I have my education, but I didn't have anything to do in life. I didn't have knowledge. I didn't have other plans or other things that I would think I just the things life is ending. So there's nothing that I can do in life. I have no father, I have no mother who can take care of me. But after being at Young Africa, meeting with the mentor, meeting with the life skills trainers, they made me open up my mind that no, we are the gift. You are the gift to your life, to your family, to your community. You can do great things in life. Then they taught me about entrepreneurship. I did my course. I did pass. I went for attachment. Like now, I went to attachment. I finished my attachment. Then I get the job. Now I'm using the skills that I've been taught, like saving. I'm not saving, and I'm getting much opportunities, mingling up with other people. Even the confidence that I was being taught, you have to have confidence. Pick out, mingle out with other people. Then, like now, I'm saving about them to do like this. This person that I met, they say, let's do a partnership. I'm planning to further up my studies. Then we are planning to open up my preschool. Then I can see that the entrepreneurship and the future of being a Young Africa is very much projected.
Thank you, Jessica, from our end.
Thank you. That was
yeah.
That was a very powerful closing from Yvonne. My apologies, though, because I have been informed that we have some more questions. So that was a really powerful end, but there's a question regarding what specific differences have you personally seen working in the different countries? Have you seen different demands and skill needs? Are there different challenges that you have experienced through your work?
I would say from country to country, the needs and the skill set, they differ. You look at Botswana, it's a different context if you compare with Zimbabwe. It's a different context if you compare with Zambia. So the courses that we offer when it comes to TVET and training the young persons in Botswana, they are more inclined towards arts things, towards sporty things, because their economy is a bit stable. So it means the politics of the strongman when it comes to Botswana and Namibia, they are a bit different when it comes to Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Zambia. So you offer skills training like they've got better infrastructure as compared to other countries. So which means when it comes to building, when it comes to welding, when it comes to other technical courses, those are not mostly required in these two countries. They are more into soft skills where they are saying maybe aside from maybe plant maintenance as well as maybe computers, catering, those are the only, the food production, those are the only soft skills that they would be inclined towards. But otherwise, mostly it would be solar technology for Namibia, mostly because it's predominantly a desert country. So you find there's so much solar opportunities for the young persons. So mostly of what we see in that area is you find students asking more about learning to do with green, the green energy, solar installation, repairs, and stuff like that. Then when it comes to countries like Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Zambia, we have got different also needs and also different requests, course requests from the young persons. Zimbabwe and Mozambique, you find that people are mostly concerned about their livelihoods because there are no grants, like some grants that are given to young persons and to people who could be breadwinners, like for example, in South Africa, where they've got small grants. In Zimbabwe and Zambia and Mozambique, we don't have those grants. So you find the courses that the young persons ask are short courses which can give them instant income. Plumbing, where once someone can go and fix something that is broken, a broken toilet or something, where you find young persons enrolling for construction. For example, in Mozambique, post-war, there's a conflict and they are also coming from a civil war years. So you find there's also construction taking place, there's also agriculture taking place. You find those skills, it differs country by country. Then you come to Zimbabwe, where you find that mostly our agricultural sector is where there are young persons who are in there. But because young people are really would want something that gives them quick cash, they now gravitate towards IT courses, they gravitate towards garment making, motor mechanics, because many people are importing vehicles within the country. So they see a need that there are some cars that are going to be breaking down, which will be imported from Japan, which means there is a gap there, and that is what our young persons will now enroll towards. Then if it comes to some countries which are bordering each other, which are border towns and where we are working with, you find courses like customs clearing and stuff like that. That's where students would now, and also motor mechanics and as well as catering, because there are gaps for food production and people would want to be eating. So it depends country by country and at which status the economy of the country is. And so within our centers and within our training partners that we do a needs assessment and also a market assessment to see that what is working within this country, what do the youths really want, and what is practical as well, which would also give them a livelihood, because at the end of it, we also want to give them a source of livelihood. So, and then you also find that there are so many people who are also building houses, people who are building, who are also constructing buildings for offices, office park and stuff like that. So you find so many courses, new courses also coming in, tiling, carpentry, which is the new things that will be coming in. So country by country, it differs. You find that maybe even for Zambia, it is different from for Mozambique and for Zimbabwe. It differs country by country, the needs for the courses and also the demand for courses.
Thank you, Annie. Just to add a few more points. We have differences from one country to the other in terms of the labor markets. For example, in the case of Zimbabwe, much as we are training the young people and producing very technically minded graduates. But they tend to really get weighed down by employment prospects. So the value of TVET would vary from one country to the other, depending on the employment sector performance. Countries at low levels of development like Zimbabwe and say Mozambique, the young people would really struggle to penetrate the markets, especially subsectors where the employment opportunities are not really promising. We have the courses that we've been offering in border towns like motor vehicle mechanics, nest aid training, where shortly after completion, the young people would cross the border into Botswana or into South Africa, where the opportunities are brighter than back home. So yeah, these are some of the intercountry challenges that we also face. We also have situations of competition for labor time, which affects attendance to training. In the case of Zimbabwe, where more than 60% of the people are in the informal sector, petty trading and vending becomes a very active vocation. So one has to juggle between attending training and also raising some income for household sustenance. So yeah, much as they really feel we need training, but they also need to put food on the table. We've also noted in the past few years that there's also different perspectives between students and other key stakeholders in terms of course duration. In countries with stronger economies, Namibia, or even Botswana, young people prefer shorter version courses because the labor market is already waiting, is asking for people to come and take up jobs. But we also have other setups, like in the case of Zimbabwe, where the young people would require short courses so that they can cross over into neighboring countries for immediate job blessings. But the key stakeholders, like the masterclass persons, the franchisees, and government authorities, would actually require longer courses so that the youth get more exposure to industrial operations. So these are some of the dynamics that happen inter-country and that really have a bearing on the training that we offer.
Once again, I would like to thank our panelists, and I'm sorry to say that we never got Wellington back online, but please send him our regards and thank you as well. And since we're running a bit short on time, I would like to pass back over to my colleague, Michael, and thank you again for the interesting insights and discussion today.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. And first of all, a big thank you to our partners from Young Africa, especially like Ini, Esther, Yvonne, Colleen, and Wellington, for taking your time and being with us today and giving, like in the beginning, I asked like what makes this approach a success story, and I think what Yvonne said in the very end, that it gives life skills, it gives entrepreneurial skills, it gives mindset, so that you're convinced that you can do great things in life and you can use your skills and you get opportunities and you can work with those skills that you teach. So I think that was a very, comprehensive summary actually on what is the success story behind your approach. So for that, thanks a lot for sharing that with us. Before closing today's Learning Lab, I would like to draw your attention on some additional resources and on some upcoming events. Within the BILT project, we have some innovation and learning practices, we call it. There's an innovation and learning practice from Ghana on our BILT website focusing on women in the driving seat, which is an initiative focusing on tractor operation and machinery operation of women that provides like more productivity and employability in countries in Ghana's agricultural sector, which I think could be quite valuable for you to have a look at. Furthermore, we have different resources of another learning lab that we were having on entrepreneurship together with the Makerspace Gearbox Kenya. You can find all the information that we displayed by this learning lab also on our website. Furthermore, I would also like to draw your attention on the BILT Atlas, which is like a living resource that highlights challenges faced by TVET stakeholders in Africa and in Asia Pacific. It presents case studies, current practices, and offers some opportunities for action. And there's also a European section that's going to be released soon in that atlas, so it's definitely worthwhile having a look at it. Furthermore, there are also some additional information on women in STEM and on TVET that are displayed by the UN or UNESCO-UNEVOC. If we go on what are our next upcoming events on the next slide. In spring, we're going to have a webinar, Making TVET Governance Fit for the Future. It will be presented by the Commission for Technical and Vocational Education and Training from Ghana. And I think the date will be fixed soon, but I guess it will be around April and May. So as soon as we have the date confirmed, we will promote this via our website and our channels. What is already confirmed is our next hybrid BILT Bridging Conference with Asia Pacific that takes place 26 to 28 of June in Singapore and will be co-hosted by the UNEVOC Center Temasek Polytechnic. The focus will be on the dual transition, greening and digitalization in the hospitality and tourism sector. And everybody's invited to join this event online. So please save the date for this. The next BILT Learning Lab is coming up in early summer, and everybody who attended the lab today will receive an automatic invitation. So looking forward to see you there. And our second hybrid BILT Learning Forum will take place in November 2023 in Bonn, Germany. And we will also keep you posted once we know which date this will be. Furthermore, we have some new innovation and learning practices that have been just recently released. We have one practice from Slovenia. It's called Munera 3. That's a national initiative of the Slovenian Ministry of Education, and it offers workers different forms of continuing vocational education provision, including upskilling, reskilling, and higher VET programs. So I think it's worthwhile to have a look. And we also have innovation and learning practice coming from the Nigerian Federation of Construction Industry. They established the FOCI Skills Academy to address shortages of skilled labor across occupation in the construction sector by giving hands-on training to young people. So also have a look there. The last one to announce is that there will be an innovation and learning practice video going to be prepared. It will focus on the Young Africa initiative, and it will introduce their work and the added value they actually create with what they do. So with this, I would like to thank you. After this learning lab, you will receive a short feedback survey about today, and it would be really nice if everybody could fill it out so that we can work to improve these events. Once again, thanks a lot to Young Africa for sharing your experience and your time. Also, big thank you to all of you who attended this meeting, and it was great that you joined us today. And on behalf of myself, my colleagues at BIBB and UNESCO-UNEVOC, and on behalf of our partners from Young Africa, thank you for joining, and I hope to see you soon at one of our future BILT events. Thank you and goodbye.